This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West podcast with your host, Brandon Cook, Nick Harrington, and Travis Foch.
Welcome to the Hockeytown West podcast, your source for everything Grand Rapids Griffins and Toledo Walleye hockey. I'm one of your hosts, Travis.
I'm Nick.
How you doing, buddy?
You know, we had Labor Day weekend. It was great, right? Like it was, an extended weekend. My new job, I'm taking holidays off, which ended up being me working on holidays. So just for a little part. But, waking up today was a little tough because it's like, today's Monday, right? But it's Tuesday. And so I was I don't know. Last night I was like, I got the Sunday scaries and I got frustrated. I got mad. And then it was like, I wake up and I'm just kind of still spewing. And then you call me and you're like, son of a gun. And then you tell me about what's going on your side. I'm just like, oh man. So, right before we started recording, I was laughing because I was like, yeah, we're kind of in the same thoughts and feeling space right now of, we're just kind of irritated about everything. So, and here we are, and on a Tuesday at 4:00 p.m. working on the podcast. So this is what professional Nick looks like to everybody. Quarter zip, some sunglasses, my blue light glasses, and my hair done. So typically, if you see me at the arena and press, I'm usually down up like this already and going. But on the pod, a little bit more chill, like Travis.
Yeah, I feel you. It definitely feels like a Monday. This morning hit like a Monday, but not a ton of news. We do have a special guest today. Chaz Reddekopp was kind enough to stop by finally, feels like.
Yeah.
We can say finally. We've only been trying to get it since the beginning of last season after the first Kalamazoo game.
Yeah, then we tried during the season, and then that kind of got stopped because of the injury. And then, this summer, he just kept putting us off because he was waiting to announce his big news, which, we kind of, you had some inclination on that. So there you go. Big word from Nick today.
I mean, I didn't know anything, and we weren't told anything directly. It was just kind of like when it kept getting pushed back, I was like, your mind starts to be like, wonder if something's going on here that they're not alluding to. And then the news came out that he's going to be coaching, and it's like, oh, that's awesome. It's great. So love to see that. Happy for him. It was a fun chat.
It was good timing too, because we had just talked to Pat the night before, and then we were able to talk to Chaz literally right after. So it was kind of good to be able to kind of sync them up kind of back to back. Because some questions from Pat were, we got some info from Pat to be able to ask Chaz on this interview. And, and then we had some stuff. You guys had some stuff from his brother from like last year to be able to ask Chaz. So it led up pretty well.
Yeah, no, it was good. And there's really only one piece of news. There's only been one announcement with Toledo in the last week is the signing of, I'm going to butcher this, Jockeys Buquois, I'm guessing. He can roast me in the future like Hawk roast Nick all the time. But 1 goal, 7 assists, 8 points in 19 games last year with Reading. Only played 19 games. I would assume there was maybe dealt with injuries or something like that. But another ad, bigger body, right? I believe he was 6'2", can play center, can play the wings. So the roster continues to take shape. And it was even interesting with the little tidbit I sent you with Mark catching up with Hawk, talking about the roster and how it's a little bit different from years past, but it's a good different.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they're trying to build it? It seems very different. Well, they're this close to the like they were in the finals. They were that close. Like a few bouts, as even Pat said, like would have had them in.
Well, look at the Panthers. They go from a couple years ago, a few years ago, they had 100 and so many points. They were unreal, and then they trade for Kachuk to completely change the team, right? And when you lose so many big names like Toledo did, maybe this was a time to maybe alter the way they built a team. And if they're tougher, harder to play against, that's only going to make them better, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this team continues to build and what it's going to look like. I feel like it's going to be a very big shock to a lot of the faithful, right?
I think so. I'm not saying that it's going to be like rough and tumble heavy. Like they still got some skill guys, right? They still have that mix, but I think they're adding more sandpaper that it may not be in the size of 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", 225. Throws the gloves off every other game and goes out and just, they bully teams. I think you're still going to see a lot of speed. You're still going to see a lot of skill. You're still going to see, stuff you've seen in the past, but I think they're just going to be a little bit tougher to play against. That's kind of what I've gathered through the last two conversations especially with Pat and with now Chaz too. I think it's just going to be, how do we make ourselves a little bit tougher to play against?
Yeah. I mean, I like the style that Trace Ramirez had last year. I think it's a system that can be repeated. It can be replicated. It could be a little boring for some, but it's very different. And I'm hoping maybe I should have asked Pat when we were on, but if that's kind of what he's trying to emulate, I guess. I know I'm going to ask Waddy when he's on, is because it feels like that's kind of the system that he likes. So excited to have that chat with him here in the off season. Before, hopefully the off season. We're coming up to the season almost.
Yeah, it's coming quick. We're officially into September. Training camp's only a few weeks away for the parent clubs, and next thing you know, we'll all be focusing in on hockey again. But I think it's time to throw it to Chaz. Of course, we'll hit an ad break before, and after the ad, you'll hear from Chaz.
Game on. Week 1 starts now, and every touchdown brings you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. This isn't just football. It's first touchdown fireworks, anytime touchdown rushes, and live bets that ride every momentum shift. At DraftKings, every play is your next shot to win. Currently, we're going to be rooting for the Detroit Lions this year, and Jahmyr Gibbs has a plus 600 for first touchdown scorer. New customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, grab over $200 off on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Your season starts now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first bet of $5 or more, plus over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additionally, NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms limited time offer.
Today we've got a guy who's done it all: WHL draft pick, Kings draft pick, time in the ECHL and the AHL, captain in Kalamazoo, fan favorite in Toledo, and now he's stumping behind the bench with the Walleye. Fired to have him on. Chaz Reddekopp, welcome to the show, man. How's it going?
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's going great. Kind of been a busy summer for me here so far. Kind of getting a lot of information regarding what I'm about to be doing soon. So it's been fun for me. I'm excited and really looking forward to get back to Toledo.
Having a good summer though with all the craziness?
Yeah, no, it's been great. It's been good. Obviously, it's a little bit of a short summer with how long the season went with the Walleye and how far we went. So it's kind of feels short. I've only been home for a couple months here, but it's been good. Made the most of it so far. Obviously, seen a lot of friends and family and done a few fun things. So it's been good.
Say, it looks like you're getting some good golf in out there.
I've been trying. Yeah, me and my buddies golf quite a bit. There's some beautiful tracks here in BC. So we do that as much as we can here. A bunch of my buddies like to go, probably go a couple times a week. So we're doing that as much as we can for sure, soaking it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to step back in time a little bit. Take us back to when you got drafted into the WHL. How cool was that to hear your name called by Victoria?
Yeah, that was looking back on it, that's probably one of my favorite memories as a hockey player. Obviously, when you're growing up as a kid, and you obviously I grew up in West Kelowna here, so I went to a lot of Kelowna Rockets games. So that was like the coolest thing ever for me growing up. And then obviously you got to get to that age where you could be drafted. You start talking to teams, you get yourself an agent, all that kind of stuff, and it starts to get a little bit more real, more exciting. And then it's actually a funny story. When I was drafted, I was actually on the ice. We were practicing. I went to Pursuit of Excellence, the hockey academy here in Kelowna, and it was draft morning, and we actually had practice that morning. So all the kids, we were all like checking our phones and stuff, and then the draft was just about to happen, but we had to go on the ice. So we all went on the ice, and then our coaches kind of announced it a little bit like as we were going. We had a couple first round picks, a couple high picks in that draft on my team that year. So we got off the ice. I checked my phone and had a million calls. My phone was blowing up. Everybody was texting me and stuff. And to be honest, I didn't realize that I would get drafted that high. It was kind of a surprise to me. So when I got off the ice and saw that, I was like, holy crap, like this is unreal. I was really excited. And obviously Victoria being close to my hometown, that was also a cool part of it. I was only a few hours away from my parents and my friends and all that stuff. So it couldn't have really happened much better than that.
Was there a little part of you that wanted your hometown, like your hometown team, but still you're close?
Yes, yeah, for sure. I mean, like as a kid, like I said, going to Rockets games and stuff, like that would have been the coolest thing ever to be drafted by Kelowna. And then obviously, like I went to Victoria, so I was pumped about that. I had done like a lot of family trips to Victoria and stuff before that, so like I really liked the city. I really liked that area. So that was cool for me. And then it ended up actually being really fun because like Victoria and Kelowna are like big rivalries in the WHL. So like we had a lot of like big games, big playoff series against them. And like every time I would come to Kelowna, all my buddies would come to the games and make signs and all that stuff. And we were like big time rivals. So it was kind of like a weird feeling, like coming back to my hometown, but being like the bad guy in it, kind of, because all the Rockets fans hated the Royals. They hated the way I played. And like, as you guys know how I played and stuff, they couldn't stand me. So it was kind of like that cool feeling where I would come into Kelowna and be like the bad guy. I kind of liked it.
That was literally my question. It was like, how was it to be like on the other side of it? But you answered it, so
Yeah.
that's perfect.
No, it was awesome. I actually ended up loving it. It was so much fun. My friends loved it too, because they would be like, oh, you should have heard like what the fans were saying in the crowd and stuff. And like, they were booing you. They were saying this about you. And I was just like, oh, I love that. Like that fired me up. I loved every second of it. So it was fun.
Brandon.
My guess is your parents were probably in the crowd too then, right? Like
Yeah,
family?
for sure. Yeah.
So like, how did they take it?
Yeah, my parents would say the exact same thing. They'd be like, oh, these Rockets fans aren't very nice or whatever. So it was kind of fun. And then I'd go see my family after, like, obviously, like they'd be waiting outside the dressing room after the game and stuff. I'd go say hi to them and stuff, and they would give me all the scoop on what they were saying and give me the funny stories. So it was a lot of fun. I loved it. It was a blast for me.
It's good to know the chirps from the crowd fire you up, because you might have been on the receiving end of some from myself when you played in Kalamazoo. But
I would not doubt that at all. Yeah, 1,000% I was. So,
then the big one comes along.
Me.
You know, you achieve every kid's dream, right? You get drafted by an NHL team. The LA Kings take you. Where were you at when you got that call? What was that like?
Yeah, that was cool for me as well. I was just at home. I was at my parents' house when I got drafted. It was obviously I was a seventh rounder, so it was late. It was kind of one of those things where I would obviously follow around. It was the same as the WHL. Like I didn't really have a good idea of kind of where I was going to get drafted. I was like, okay, I could get drafted. My agent said I should get drafted, all that stuff. But it was kind of one of those things where I was like, okay, I don't have high expectations. I don't really know if I'll get drafted or how high I'll get drafted. So it got to like the fifth, sixth round, and I was kind of like, oh well, like maybe I'm not going to get drafted. Like who knows or whatever. And I actually I put my phone down and kind of like stopped paying attention to the draft. And then my phone started ringing. I got a bunch of calls, and then I saw, obviously, I got drafted in the seventh round by the Kings. And I was like, holy shit, like to be drafted late obviously sucked, but like to go to the Kings, I was like, wow, this this is unreal. So it was kind of surreal. It felt weird for me for sure. I was like, holy shit, like kind of caught off guard, like I said, but it was one of the coolest moments ever. Obviously, like me and my family, we had a little party after, celebrated, and got to spend time with friends and family. So it was pretty cool.
An organization to get drafted to. It's unreal. So,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Yeah.
ended up spending about parts of 5 seasons in the American League. They're kind of bouncing around. What memory sticks out to you most about the American League?
Yeah, my first year in the American League was probably, I would say, like one of my most fun years I've ever had of hockey, like the most fun I've ever had. It was a blast for me. It was obviously moving to California, getting to live in LA. It was like, holy shit, like this is insane to me. Like everybody dreams of going to Cali and living in Cali and all that stuff. So it was really fun for me. It was kind of one of those things where it was like there was some different things going on. Like we were a really bad team that first year. Like my first year pro, I think we were one of the worst teams in the American League. So that part of it kind of sucked, but then it was also good for me because it gave me a little bit more opportunity to play. Obviously, being a 7th rounder, I might not have got the most ice time or opportunity, as you could say, whatever you want to call it. So there were some tough times for that season for sure. Like it was a grind, and you kind of get that wake up call of like, okay, this is what pro hockey's about. Like this is a lot different than junior hockey and all that. So it was definitely a challenge. But some of those guys on my team, I'm still friends with to this day and really good buddies with. So a lot of memories, a lot of fun times had there, and a lot of cool people met. So it was sweet.
What was it like playing on a West Coast American League team? Because obviously you play against each other in that division a lot. You don't get a lot of traveling out there, but what was that like?
Yeah, it was a grind for sure. It almost feels like it's kind of similar to the ECHL. Like you play your division a lot, like you play those teams that are close to a lot, which kind of like ramps up the intensity for the games a little bit. Obviously, you build that hate for teams, and you play against the same players a lot, so you're kind of getting a lot of those same guys, a lot of those teams that you're kind of starting to hate. You start to build those rivalries with. So it was definitely a grind. I remember my first year, like that San Diego team was so tough, so big, and like so good. I was like, like this is crazy. Like every time we went to San Diego for a game, it felt like a playoff game. It was like middle of January, and I was like, holy shit, these games are insane. Like you can't really make these up. There's 3 or 4 fights. We had heavyweights on our team, heavyweights on San Diego, and it was like, this is like a man's game. Like, so you kind of start to learn all that about the pro game and playing those teams a lot. But that division my first year was a scary division. It was good hockey, and there was a lot of tough guys in it. So it was a little bit of a wake up call for sure.
And speaking of toughness, you've said before the AHL might be one of the toughest leagues in the world to play in. Why do you feel that way?
Oh, 100%. I think it's just the fact that everybody in that league is trying to make it to the NHL. Everybody in that league is one step away from being an NHL player, from getting that opportunity to play in the best league in the world. So I think it just makes it that much more of a grind, where you see top prospects, obviously in the American League. You see high draft picks from NHL teams play a lot in the American League, and those players are just so good, and they want to get out of that league as quickly as they can, because it's just such a grind. Obviously every kid wants to play in the NHL. So I think it's a mixture of that, of those top prospects, and then it's those guys who are older, tougher, and they're just vets in the league. They've played a long time, and it's a good mix of like those younger and those older players, and it's just everybody's kind of working as hard as they can to move up to that last step of playing in the NHL. So it kind of makes it a whirlwind of players. It's kind of just makes it a big grind.
While you were in Ontario, you played with former Griffin Matt Loft. Like, can you have any stories with him while you were out there? He's a fun guy that we've been able to talk to before.
He's a hilarious guy. Yeah, we still talk a little bit every once in a while, but he was actually there with me. We were roommates when I signed my first NHL contract. Like we were there for camp, and we were roommates together. And then so he was there when I signed my first NHL contract. So that's kind of a cool story for me and him. And then obviously that first year pro, like we were the same age, but he had played the previous year because I went back to play my overage year in Victoria, but he played that first year pro. So like my first year, he was kind of able to help me a little bit with letting me know like how things go, and kind of just help me get settled a little bit. And we were pretty good buddies. We had some good times in LA, obviously, as you can imagine. It's a fun place to live. So yeah, we had a little bit of good times for sure.
That guy's a character.
That would be an understatement for sure.
In your career, you also kind of logged the same amount of time playing in the coast. What was your favorite memory of playing in the ECHL?
Oh, that's really tough. I mean, there's so many memories, obviously. Pretty hard to pick, but I mean, obviously this past year, I mean, it was a hard year for me with the injuries and the situation kind of that I was in. But I mean, obviously going to the Kelly Cup finals and being a part of that was probably one of my favorite memories for sure. I mean, obviously I wasn't um, playing and playing in the playoffs and kind of getting there with them, but it was just to be a part of it was really, really cool. You kind of got that experience of what it's actually like because obviously as a 7-year pro, I never really got to go that far. So that was really cool. Um, I'd say my first ECHL game, pretty cool story. I was in Ontario and I got sent down to Manchester, who is no longer a team. Obviously, they folded the year after I played there. But my first ever ECHL game was in Newfoundland. So I met the team in Newfoundland and played a 3-3 in Newfie. My first 3 games on the coast, it was a 3-3 in Newfie. I was like, holy shit, like what am I getting myself into? So I met the team there. I think I met them Thursday. We played Friday, Saturday, Sunday, left on the Monday, and I was just like, holy shit, like, is this what the coast is all about? Like, this is what I'm getting myself involved in. And I was like, wow, this was a grind. So that memory always sticks out to me, my first couple coast games. And then obviously there's a million stories in between that it's too hard to name all of them, but so many good memories.
What was it like rolling into Toledo as an opponent? Like, was the Huntington Center one of those arenas like you had circled on the calendar because you knew you were going to be like in front of a sold out crowd?
Oh, absolutely. I've told a lot of people, I think Toledo is my favorite place to play. Like even when I was an opponent, when I played in Kalamazoo and I played a little bit in Fort Wayne a few years back. Toledo was like always one of my favorite ones. Like you said, like just knowing it's going to be a full crowd, it's going to be loud, they're going to boo you. As you guys said, like I was one of those players that fans probably hated me. So, but that was kind of the thing that would fire me up and make me more excited to play. So, even like before coming to Toledo, like I said, it was probably one of my favorite places to play in the coast for sure.
Were there any good chirps from the Toledo fans when you were playing for Kalamazoo that you can remember?
Oh,
There's a few from this one host on this podcast.
Hey now.
Probably, yeah. Nothing that comes to my mind. Like you hear so much stuff. It's like it's pretty hard to remember exactly what these fans said. But I remember like when you're on the opponent bench, obviously like when I was in Kalamazoo, the fans like right behind our bench would always be like every time I came off the ice, they'd be saying something about Reddekopp, and I was just like, holy, like this is actually unreal. The odd time I would like look back and actually like laugh with them and smile at them or whatever, just to kind of fire them up a little bit. But no, it's one of those things that you hear so much different stuff. It's like impossible to remember all of them, but there's too many to count.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So you end up winning. So on the nicer side of it, like you win the ECHL Community Service Award. How special was that for you?
Yeah, that was really cool. A lot of people who know me, like, and have played with me or whatever, kind of know that's one thing that I've always been passionate about, is being involved in the community. Kind of no matter where I play, no matter what city I'm in. That's kind of the first thing that I like to do when I get there is talk to the team and kind of ask them how I can get involved in the community and get involved with fans and kids and schools and all that kind of stuff is something I've kind of done forever. It's going back to even in junior, when I played in Victoria. It's something I've always liked to do. And then so when I went to South Carolina, it was one of those things where got involved with a couple charities, a couple schools, a couple programs for younger kids who are maybe less fortunate, don't get involved in hockey. Obviously, when you're in like South Carolina, hockey's not like a huge sport. So none of those kids or anything there usually get to play hockey or even try hockey. So there was a few times where we'd get involved with kids there and I'd be able to help them with hockey. We'd get them gear and get them on the ice for the first time and stuff like that. Which was really, really cool. And then it's kind of, like I said, just something I've always done with whatever team I'm playing on. So it's something I'm very passionate about.
So I said none of it was court ordered, right? It was all.
No, believe it or not, it wasn't.
Back to your Kalamazoo days, you wore the C in Kalamazoo. What did that honor mean to you?
Yeah, that was really cool too. That was kind of one of those experiences where you're going to a brand new team where I didn't really know anybody on the team at all. Didn't really know the coaching staff. Didn't really know any players, like I said. So it's kind of one of those situations where it's different. You got to go in there, feel it out a little bit, get to know guys, get to know the staff and all that stuff. But it was awesome there. I loved Kalamazoo. The organization's great. The staff was great. So I went in there, made relationships with guys right away. A lot of good buddies on that team still, guys that I'm still friends with and stuff to this day. And then, yeah, obviously to be named captain there was really cool with the history of that organization and kind of how long they've gone, how long they've been around and stuff like that. I was honored to get that role, and I loved it.
Coming in as a new guy, getting named captain first year, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's what, like I said, it was cool. I mean, obviously, going into a new place, I tried to just make a good impression, kind of connect with guys, be personable, and obviously being a little bit of an older guy on that team too. Just trying to stick out as much as I could and help younger guys and help that team kind of bond. And then, yeah, it was, they decided to do a player vote. So it was actually a player vote for the captain, which pretty cool. Like I said, I made some good relationships on that team and it went well. So I was pretty fired up when I got that.
How do you approach when you arrive at a new team like that? You know, obviously you've been around a little bit, but even in Toledo when you got here, there was guys in the team saying, you know, you came in and they already could look at you as one of those leaders on the team. Like, how do you approach that every time you go into a new locker room?
Yeah, it's tough sometimes. Obviously, like I said, when you're going into places where you don't really know anybody, you kind of you got to feel it out a little bit. But obviously, I think once you get in there and you kind of get comfortable, then you try to settle in a little bit and kind of show people your personality. But I think obviously coming to Toledo was kind of hard because obviously the previous year playing in Kalamazoo was like I was going to war against these guys. So it was like, oh, like they might not have the best impression of me kind of going in playing against them last year. So I was like, okay, this could be maybe take a little longer than it might usually take to get comfortable with these guys. But it was great. I kind of you go in there, you be yourself, you be personable and connect with guys. And then the group that we had in Toledo last year was awesome. So they made it easy for me to come in and be comfortable and welcomed me as nicely as they possibly could with what went on the year before. So
Brandon, I feel like you have to share the story of when we were in Kalamazoo and seeing them swing it at when they played Toledo. That? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I remember there was a game where it might have resulted in a suspension afterwards for yourself. There was at the end of a game, but I wasn't going to bring that up. No,
a suspension for me?
I think so. I think when you were last year in Kalamazoo.
Yeah,
last year.
That game got wild.
I forget which one was it. When I think it might have been when I was ragdolling Lewandowski.
Yeah, because Pat told us to bring this up.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, which is hilarious because I love Louis. He's hilarious. He's one of my better buddies on the team this year. But yeah, I think it was one of those games. I don't even remember what really happened during the game, but all I can just vividly remember, it was at the end of the game with maybe 30 seconds left, and I wasn't looking. Like I had my back turned to Lewandowski, and he gave me like a cross check in the lower back when I wasn't looking. And I, like, as you guys probably know, I hate when guys do that. I was like, holy fuck! Like, so I turned around immediately. I saw it was him. There was like 20 seconds left in the game, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna let the game go out. We'll see what happens here at the end. And then I remember, so like we follow him up the ice. I think it's whatever 3-2-1, the buzzer goes, and then there was a scrum in the corner, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'm grabbing him right away. So I beeline it to the scrum. I grab Lewandowski right away. I pull him to the ice, and then the rest is history. I think the next 30 seconds was me just trying to get him as good as I could. Basically, I may have thrown a couple punches. I may not have. I don't remember, but I didn't think it was that bad. And then all of a sudden, I think my coach the next day was like, "Yeah, you got a game for that." I was like, "Oh, here we go." And
it was a wild game. I remember being there, and I think Toledo ran up the score early. And your goalie got pulled. You guys came back. Toledo's goalie gets pulled, and it's a tie game. You guys ended up winning. And I was like, this is the wildest game I've ever been at.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Now that you say that, I remember how that went. Yeah, that was wild.
And then I remember you siding with us, and I'm like, who is this guy? Like, we're trying to do some background on you. And Brandon's like, this is the guy that went after everybody who comes. I'm like, oh, yeah. Be a good signing then when you came over to us. So I was bummed at that point, but it was kind of funny to kind of like, you were the guy that stuck out in that game for us. not the goalies
Mhm.
being pulled, but you pulling out
Yeah.
everybody, getting in, stirring up crap, and then now you're siding with us. I'm like, what's going on here? This will be an
Yeah, that
interesting
was.
locker room to walk into.
I know, that's what I thought. That was like one of the first things I thought about. I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. This will be hilarious. And then, like I said, I love Louis, great dude, one of my favorite dudes. So it ended up all working out.
That's how it goes in hockey. You battle on the ice, then once you're off
Mhm.
the ice, it is what it is. I remember when we interviewed Brendan Hawkins at the beginning of the season, we asked him about adding you to the team. He was like, I'm just glad he's on our side now.
Yeah, exactly. Hawk would give me a hard time all season long. He's, oh, I beat you up last year. I did this last year, whatever. I was like, okay, Hawk, relax. Relax. We know that didn't happen.
That year was like crazy too, because like you guys just like had Toledo's number all year. And then we get you in the playoffs and I was like, this isn't a good matchup for us. Like, this is not
Mhm.
good. And then all
Yeah.
of a sudden, like, it went our way. But like the goal we have to ask about is obviously the Hawkins. Like,
Yeah.
and I will say he threw you under the bus because at one point he goes, because I have the picture of it and I'm looking at it right now and you're in the side of the picture and he goes, oh, you should have Chaz sign that picture.
Yeah. I knew that was coming up. That's the one goal that I'll never forget. But yeah, that was like one of those things, like you said, like, yeah, we just played, I don't know what it was. We just played really well against Toledo all season long and we beat them almost every time in the regular season. So like when we matched up with you guys in the first round, we were like, okay, like we felt pretty good about it. We felt pretty confident. And then it was one of those things where it's like, if we win that game one, it could have been a little different. Maybe could have got some momentum and maybe went the other way. Who's to say if we would have won, but at least would have made it a little bit better of a series. And then, yeah, I think Hawk probably brings that goal up every third day during the season. So I'll never hear the end of that one.
You're sitting with me, buddy. He chirps me every time he gets a chance. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but you deserve it.
Yeah.
It felt
fair.
maybe you can speak to this from the opposing side playing there in the playoffs. It feels like the walleye mentality is once the first round comes, there's a new gear this team finds every year. Because I remember watching the first round this year, and I looked at Travis and I went, "Who is this team? They've looked faster, they look stronger, way more competitive." It's like a whole new gear, maybe second gear that they find.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just, you get to playoffs and it's a totally different game. Obviously, Toledo's been so good the last however many years making it to the playoffs and going as far as they have every year. I think it's just the standard now. Like I think it's one of those things where it's like, okay, we get to playoffs, it's go time. We're not messing around anymore. And it's just you find a way to play that extra gear, like you said, and I think, yeah, that's just the standard of Toledo nowadays. You're expected to be good, you're expected to make the playoffs, and then once you get to playoffs, it's a whole new ballgame.
So the question I have is, what led you to sign with the Griffins? Was Toledo just always part of that conversation?
Yeah, they were. Pat was actually the first person to call me in the summer, and he called me in the summer and he kind of asked what my plans were. At that time, I didn't really know what I was doing yet, if I was going to go back to Kalamazoo, if I was looking for something else. So he asked me, he was like, hey, what are your plans? I was like, I don't know yet. I'll get back to you. And then I think maybe a couple weeks later, he calls me again and he basically asked me to come to Toledo. He says, we really want you. We liked how you played last year, all that stuff. And it was kind of one of those tough situations where obviously playing in Kalamazoo, I was like, oh, like, can I really just leave Kalamazoo and go play for Toledo, one of the bigger rivals in the division? It kind of just didn't sit right with me. I was like, okay, that might be obviously being captain of Kalamazoo too. I was like, I don't know how that'll go with everybody else and all that. So I kind of told Pat that, and then he was like, okay, like what if we can get you an American League deal with Grand Rapids? And I was like, okay, yeah, that make me feel a little bit better about potentially playing in Toledo or whatever might happen. So obviously talked with Kalamazoo and just told them that I got offered an American League deal, and it was obviously if I'm going to get an AHL deal, I'm probably going to take it. So I did that, and then so obviously Pat was a big part of it. And then yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, like I'm probably going to end up in Toledo. Like so, it kind of ended up being the same thing, but it's just the fact that it was an American League deal kind of just made me feel a little bit better about doing it and leaving Kalamazoo essentially.
But you're used to playing for the rivals, like all the way from the beginning.
No, I really am. I was like, okay, this is normal for me. It's not going to be anything too crazy. I can deal with it.
I thought Pat would have your contract in the handshake line after that first round, honestly. It's based on his talk of you and how highly he spoke of you. I'm surprised he didn't have it ready then.
I know I don't know if he told you the story, but he after that playoff series in the handshake line, we shook hands and he goes, "Hey, I just want you to let know like you're one of my favorite players." And I was like, "Wow, like that's really nice to hear from an opposing coach, obviously, and especially a coach at Toledo who's, like I said, been a good team for a long time and had a lot of success." So he told me that. I was like, wow, that meant a lot for me, especially after playing all season against him and then playing in playoffs against him. And then he would make a couple of jokes about that, like this past season when I would come in, like me being his favorite player and stuff. So it ended up being pretty funny. But it was cool how it worked out. So
that's awesome. And then the day finally comes, home opener. You step on the ice in the Huntington Center. What was it like to have that crowd behind you this time?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was easy to see like how like good the fans were and how passionate they were about walleye hockey. Like the second I got to Toledo, even before the season started, even before that home opener, it was very easy to see just how much they enjoyed walleye hockey and how much it meant to the city of Toledo for all the fans and all the people in the city. And then obviously to get on the ice and actually be a part of it, it was special. It was something I was looking forward to for a long time. And like I said, there's a reason why it was one of my favorite buildings to play in. So it was awesome.
How would you sum up this season in your eyes for last season? How would you sum that up?
Yeah, it was honestly one of the harder seasons, like probably one of the harder years of my life, to be honest, not even just hockey, but with the injury, obviously, and the concussion and kind of what I had to go through, it was a very, very hard time for me. But like I told you guys, I loved Toledo. As soon as I got there, it was awesome. So like the first couple months of the season was great. I was like, okay, we have a really good team. We're going to do good this year. I'm looking forward to kind of what we can do here and obviously be a part of when it comes playoff time and all that stuff. And then in December 28th, I'll never forget the day when I got the concussion. And it was one of those things where it was like right away, I knew I had a concussion. I knew like I've had a couple before, but it was one of those ones where I was like, okay, yeah, like I can feel this right away. And then for the next like 4 or 5 months, I was just like, I would struggle with all the concussion symptoms you can think of every single day from when I woke up to at night when I went to bed. So it was just like, it was a big time struggle for me. It taught me a lot about myself and kind of the things I can go through and can try to manage or whatever I have to do to get through. But I was really lucky with how much Toledo helped me. And like the things they gave me they gave me access to obviously the people who were going to help me with my concussion. And like I saw a couple different people, like a chiropractor and neurologist and just people who helped me recover obviously better than I probably would have if I didn't see them. So it's one of those things where it's like you don't see that from a lot of a lot of teams aren't going to help play. It sounds bad, but help players like the way Toledo did. Like they really were like, okay, whatever you need to get better here, like we'll give it to you. We'll give you the tools to get better and kind of whatever you have to go through, we can help you through it. So like I'll be forever grateful for how much they helped me get through it. But it was a grind. And then obviously you mix in the fact that I had to play my 5 games with Grand Rapids, so I wasn't going to be eligible for the playoffs. And then I finally get healthy and it's like, okay, I'm healthy and I can't even play now. And then Pat obviously gave me the opportunity to stick around and kind of be a part of the team as much as I would. And that is something I'll be grateful for as well, is he was awesome with that and kind of letting me be involved. So can't thank those guys enough for what they did for me, but it was definitely a tough year overall, to say the least.
You sticking around the team like throughout the year, like what drove, like even like while you're dealing with the injury, like what drove you to that decision? Was it just trying to get the care, like the support, to get back on track? Or
yeah, for sure. It was one of those things where like when it first happened, I was like, okay, whatever, like I could be out a couple weeks, a month or whatever, and then I'll be back, I'll be fine. So it was like, okay, like I'm going to do whatever I can to get healthy, improve as much as I can, and I'll be back and I'll be fine. I'll be able to play my 5 games with Grand Rapids and I'll be good for playoffs. And then kind of like as the months gone on and I was like, okay, like it's not improving at all. I still have the same symptoms. I still have all this. I was like, okay, like maybe I got to take this a little more seriously. And then that's when I kind of started seeing those people who helped me. And then obviously as I started to get healthy, I was like, okay, like I still want to be a part of this. I knew how good, I think knowing how good of a team we had was a big part of that, because I was like, okay, like I want to be a part of this. I want to help these guys as much as I can to be as successful as they were, and to go as far as they could, because I kind of knew how much talent we had, how like good at guys we had in the locker room and stuff. So it was like, okay, I want to be a part of this. I want to help these guys out as much as I can. And it's something that I loved it. It was kind of something that led me to kind of think that, okay, like maybe I do want to coach, or I want to be a part of this in a different way that I have been, obviously. And then, and then the rest happened like this.
That's one thing Pat told us, is that you were already like kind of had a clipboard in your hand to a point, because you were like helping the guys with like, I think he said it was against Kansas City. Like you were already like going through video with them, trying to help them out. And I think that one thing that stood out to me with, I seen you every game, like even when you were hurt, like just to talk with you and just see you around, like you can understand why like you won a community service award and why you wore a letter. And I mean, Christ, there was so many guys probably in that room last year that could have wore a letter. I mean, like you can understand like where your leadership came from and why you're going to transition to a coach. So that was just super like eye-opening to me of like, man, he really cares.
Yeah, no, it was, I appreciate that. It was kind of like one of those things where it was like, okay, like I hadn't really thought about what I wanted to do after hockey, or if I wasn't going to play, I hadn't put much thought into, to be honest. And then, like you said with Pat, like I was trying to help those guys as much as I could. Obviously, specifically defensemen, it was a little bit easier for me to help those guys. And playoffs came around. I was like, okay, what can I do to help these guys? Like, what can I do for them to make their lives easier, to help them as much as possible? If I can't play, like I still wanted to be a part of that. And then that kind of gave me that motivation to be like, okay, like this is something that I could be passionate about. Like I truly do care about helping players be the best that they can be, and helping players succeed. Whether it's just little things that I can give them tips on, or if it's little things I can help them with on the ice, is because like you guys know, like I was still going on the ice every day. I was still practicing with the guys. So any kind of opportunity I had to do those little things with guys and help them out as much as possible, I kind of loved it. And I was like, wow, like this is something I could really be passionate about, is helping players from a different point of view. Obviously being a player for 28 years, as long as I've been, it's kind of a cool viewpoint that I had as kind of like a coaching point of view, like not playing anymore, but still being able to help guys, still being able to essentially cheer the guys on and motivate them to go as far as they can and be as good as they can. So it's something I'm pretty pumped to do, and pretty pumped up about to get the opportunity to do.
And correct me if I'm wrong too, you were still doing like the community stuff during your injury as well, like visiting schools and doing all that, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, like when my first like month of recovery, I didn't really do much, because I was kind of I wasn't really doing much at all. But once I started to feel a little bit better and a little bit back to normal, I was like, yeah, I have even more time on my hands now, so I can do even more. So I was going to schools and doing that kind of stuff as much as I could.
Every coach, so now you're stepping into the coaching role. Do you see yourself being more of like a player's coach, or more of a hard nose, or like a mix? Like how what is your coaching style? It's going to be hard because you've only been doing it for what, 3 months?
And you played with half of them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a good question. That's something I've actually been thinking about a lot the last month or two, pretty recently. And it's something that I have a lot of experience with, because obviously playing 7 years pro, playing 5 years junior, it's like I've gone through a lot of coaches. I've had a lot of different coaches, a lot of coaches with different coaching styles and the way that they coach and stuff. And it's like, okay, I can kind of see what guys liked out of this guy, or I can see what guys didn't like with this coaching style. Like, so it's a cool point of view for me, because I've gotten to experience a lot of coaches, and there's like certain ones that stick out to me where it's like, yeah, I loved those coaches. They were awesome. And this is kind of the way they did things. And I think a lot of guys respected that and all that. So I think for me, I'm going to be very personable. I'm going to be a guy, like, I think I like to think myself as like a very approachable guy that players will have no problem coming up to me and starting a conversation with me if they need to, or asking for any advice or asking for any help with anything they really need. I think that's kind of the biggest thing that I've thought about the last little while is the coaches that I've had in the past where you can approach them and you can have like a conversation with them without being like scared to say anything or without being nervous to have a conversation with them. I think those guys are the best coaches because they're just very approachable and they make it very easy for you to communicate with them. Maybe what you don't need, what you do need, what you need help with, all that sorts of things. So like, I think as long as I'm very approachable and I'm going to be very personable with players and kind of, obviously you got to have a little bit of a different relationship as a coach than as a teammate, but essentially I kind of want to be the same guy. I want them to look at me as the same kind of guy and the same kind of person that they can just have a conversation with and be honest with, because I think honesty is another big thing as a coach. I'm going to be honest with the players. I'm going to tell them whether they don't want to hear it or they do want to hear it. I'm going to tell them how it is, and I expect them to do the same thing. If they want to tell me something, they can tell me something. It's kind of one of those things that I think is really important, is you can just be open with them, you can be honest with them, and that makes things a lot easier.
Do you feel like it's going to be a challenge because you were teammates with them throughout the year?
Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit of a challenge, but at the same time, I think it'll help me just because obviously starting a new coaching career, obviously never really coached in my life. It'll be nice going into a place where you're already comfortable with guys. It might be kind of hard going to a place where you don't know anyone. I think in my mind, it'd be a little bit harder to start that way. So I think it'll be a little bit of a challenge in certain ways, but I think it'll be something that'll also help me a lot, just being comfortable with those guys. But like I said, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you got to have a little bit of a different relationship as a coach than as a teammate. So like, I'm sure there'll be times where I'm like, okay, like I want to do this or I want to say this, but it's like might not be appropriate as a coach or whatever you want to say. So there'll be some times where it might be tough, but I think it'll be fine. I think it'll help me a lot in a lot of different ways.
You think you can give Hawk some like extra laps for me or something?
Yeah, no, that's one thing I've been thinking about. I'll be probably the hardest on Hawk. Hawk's going to get it from me.
If he misses the net.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to make some special rules for Hawk for sure.
You know, I mean, we hear so many good things about Toledo. We've been there, we experienced the organization, like top from bottom. It's fantastic. Even especially like taking care of you during your injury. Like, if you had to sell somebody to get to like to come to play for you, like what would be your sales pitch to them?
Yeah, it would be like, honestly, like for me, experienced some things when I was like my first couple years pro, like being with the Kings and obviously going to like NHL camps, going to like I played a couple NHL preseason games, and then obviously playing in the American League too. Like I tell a lot of people, like Toledo is like playing in the NHL. It's like the NHL of the ECHL. Like the way they get treated by the organization, the way they get access to essentially whatever they want to help them as a player, to help them on the ice, off the ice. It just feels like the National Hockey League. It really does. And then obviously, like we've talked about too, like the fans are great, the best fans in the ECHL, and I don't really think it's close. So I just a big mix of all that things. Obviously, the coaching staff and the organization as a whole. That's all I got to really tell people. I think that would be the pitch. Is it feels like you're playing in the NHL when you're in the ECHL.
We've heard that a lot. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
All right. So for the last few questions, we have some fun ones here. This is a first for us in the show because when you originally came to Toledo, your brother reached out to us.
Oh, did
and we originally were talking back then about getting you on the show. So he lined us up with some questions for you.
Oh, gosh.
So your brother reached out. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I don't know how I feel about this, but let's do it.
So the first one he gave us, your first Victoria Royals camp, staying in a stranger's basement, living off PB&Js. Is that a true story?
That is a very true story. Yeah. I can't even remember whose house it was. I think it was somebody I had a connection to with in Victoria, like a family member of somebody I knew. I can't even remember exactly who it was, but yeah, it was my first WHL camp. We didn't want to pay, like my brother didn't want to pay for a hotel or something, and we had nowhere else to stay. And then I think it was a coach that I had in minor hockey. Like he was from Victoria. That might be the story. And he hooked us up with somebody like a family member in Victoria, and we stayed in their basement. And it's such a fun, it won't sound that funny, but this old lady made the best PB&J sandwiches like you'll ever have in your life. And me and my brother, like, I think it was the first day we stayed there. She was like, "Oh yeah, like I made some PB&J sandwiches." And we went upstairs and we both had one, and we were like, "Holy shit." Like, I don't know what she did. Maybe it was the bread, it was the peanut butter. I don't know what it was, but we probably had 100 of them each the rest of the weekend. Like, it was like my pregame would be a PB&J sandwich, my postgame would be a PB&J sandwich. They were the best ever, and that's like a core memory with my brother. I'll never forget that. It was hilarious.
And then he wanted us to ask, what were those tournament road trips like with Brandon Whistle?
Yeah, Brandon Whistle's a buddy that I grew up with too, and here in West Kelowna we played minor hockey together. And I think my brother's 10 years older than me, so he always had the duty of driving me to tournaments if my parents couldn't. Like, if my parents were busy or something, he was like my number one fan. He loved bringing me to tournaments and stuff. And Brandon Whistle was like one of my best buddies growing up, and we would do like 3, 4, or 5 hour road trips for our hockey tournaments, and we would just bug the shit out of him for 5 hours straight. And we would just drive him insane. And it was just us three in his car. And those are just memories I'll never forget. They were so funny. And it was just like growing up, I don't even know how old we were, 12, 13, and we were just doing whatever we could to piss him off, and we would laugh for 5 hours straight. It was awesome.
And you apparently snuck into your brother's minor hockey team photos, like his youth hockey team photos. Take us through that.
I did do that. That's like, that was too far back for me. I don't even remember how or why I did that. I think my mom probably had some kind of role in that. I don't know how it happened, but I still have the picture. I have the picture on my phone. I have the picture. I think it was something to do with, like, I probably told my mom that I was like jealous that my brother was taking a team photo and I could be in it or something. And then they somehow got me a jersey and I just snuck in there, and it was hilarious. That's one of my favorite photos as a kid, for sure.
Did you actually get your foot run over by a car? And if so, what's the story?
Yeah, I did get my foot. Why is he bringing this stuff up? Like, what's he thinking doing this? Holy shit. Yeah, my family went on a vacation to California. So we went to Disneyland, and it was my whole family. So I have 5 other siblings. I'm one of 6. And we drove. So we drove in our my parents' big suburban truck. And it was like I think it was like here to California. I think it was like a 24-hour drive. So like we made like a big trip out of it. We made a couple stops or whatever. It was like a big fun family road trip, whatever. I don't even really remember the story. I think we just stopped for like at a gas station or for food or something. And don't ask me how I got my foot under the tire or whatever, but my stepdad, I think, put it in reverse as I was standing there and like legit just drove over my foot. And my foot wasn't fully under it. So like obviously my foot didn't break or like nothing happened, but my brother laughed at me for the next week straight about it, like making fun of me and stuff. So that was another one of those dumb memories. There's probably a million of those, but we can leave those alone.
Is there any story you want to share about your brother to kind of?
I don't know. I mean, that's pretty tough on the spot. Like if you would have gave me a little heads up, I probably could have thought of a couple, but he's lucky I'm not too good at thinking on top of my head. So he can get by on this one. Yeah, he's safe. I'll let him go.
We'll catch up with you during the season, and you'll be able to share one. You'll come up with
That's
something.
a good idea. Yeah, I'll get one. I'll get a couple.
The last one that we have, probably the coolest part for you, I would think. You return to Vancouver and get to play in a preseason game for the Kings. How surreal was that?
Yeah, that was awesome. That was probably, like I've told you, I have so many memories of like hockey and my career and all that stuff. But that was probably, I would say, one of the top memories for me as a kid. Well, not as a kid, but for my hockey career. It was my first year with the camp with the Kings, or maybe my second, or I don't know when it was, but the preseason came around and like camp was going well and stuff, and then I kind of heard people talking that like they usually put some young guys in these preseason games, and some young guys get in and kind of get some opportunity just to kind of get their feet wet a little bit. And then I looked at the schedule and I saw like one of their first preseason games was in Vancouver. And I was like, holy shit, like this would be really, really cool. And then next thing I knew is they put out the lineup and all that stuff, and I got to play in Vancouver. So I was like, wow, this is pretty unbelievable. I mean, I couldn't really believe it. We traveled to Vancouver. Obviously, I told all my friends and family and all that stuff. And it was probably one of the cooler things I've ever done in my life. Because another story with that is when I was like, I think I was like 10 or 11. I did one of those, you know how like those kids come out and skate before games, like in NHL games. Like I went out for the warm-up lap with the Canucks when I was like 10, and I was a big Canucks fan growing up because I grew up in Vancouver. So I did that. So my brother got a picture of me. Like I have a picture standing for the national anthem beside like Trevor Linden on the Canucks, Matt Cook, couple other guys, and I'm standing there for the national anthem. And then whatever, 10, 11 years later, I'm standing there for the national anthem playing an NHL preseason game. Obviously, it wasn't a legitimate NHL game, but just the fact that it was even a preseason game was probably one of the cooler things I've ever experienced. And I'll never forget that one for sure.
That's it.
Yeah, he definitely sent us that photo too as well. We have that.
Yeah, exactly.
Along with the one with that massive hit you laid in that game too.
On Breezeball.
yeah, exactly. So that's probably one of the cooler memories I've had for sure. I love that picture.
That's awesome. Well, Chaz, Coach Reddekopp. I better start getting used to saying that, right? That's all we have for you. But thank you so much for doing this. I know it's been a long time coming to get you on, and to get you on as you head into your first year of coaching is even cooler than I thought it could be. So thank you for this. We hope you enjoy the rest of your summer, man, and good luck this season. We look forward to talking to you after games.
Yeah, of course, guys. I appreciate you guys having me. So thank you, and I'll see you boys soon.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that interview with Chaz. Man, he was a beauty. The brother questions threw him off a little bit, but that was a fun element that we haven't had yet when interviewing somebody. So that was cool. Shout out to his brother for giving us the two pictures that are in the YouTube version of the show that Chaz talks about. And then obviously just the few questions, but what was your biggest takeaway?
So you're going to laugh at me, but it's the PB&J story. And the reason it's been kind of like we had Chaz on 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it's been about 2 weeks now. And I've just been craving PB&J since that story. I don't know what it is. So like we had to actually go out and buy bread, and like I already had jelly, I had some peanut butter, and I just been making PB&Js every day. Like I don't know why, but that's just that was a big piece of it. And I've just been craving them. So I'm probably, this is about my lunchtime now. So I'll probably have a PB&J as soon as we're done talking. So like that story was funny. I just kind of listened about like his time. Like I thought it was super cool of him being able to get that chance to play in the preseason for the Canucks. So I think that was huge. And I guess the last piece is just being able to pull, like, it was kind of funny how he was always on the rivalry team and then joining. So like in juniors and then with Toledo. So it's kind of funny to see that end. But what were your takeaways? Because you've been able to kind of like not hang out, but you've been able to see him quite a bit throughout the season and on the ice and off the ice.
Yeah, probably the biggest thing is just, you hear about how first class the Walleye organization is, and with what he went through last year, we didn't even bring up what happened. I mean, he went into it on his own, and we had to make sure that he was okay to talk about it and all that. And just with how well the team treated him, keeping him around, giving him the proper health or the proper care he needed. And then as well, just like how he just seemingly stepping into the coaching role as the season's still going on. He's helping with video. He's helping with, off ice, is being there, and just an incredible person. Right. And then the charitable side too, with what all he's done. And he was, he even said, like, in the back half of the season when I was, injured, is still doing all of as much of the charity work as he could. So another guy that just generally cares about people in the community. And it's amazing how much, how great of a person he is, how nice he is. And then he gets on the ice and it was like a completely different person.
I love how you went that route with it. I went with PB&Js. Like this is classic. This is classic, classic Nick on this side. So, but yeah, the community service thing was huge on that end, and just how nice he was. I love the other part too is because we watched him in Kalamazoo with that huge fight with him and Louis, and so like for him to like give us the backstory on that was pretty cool. Because as many games as we go to and as much as we see, it's just like that was one thing that I do like really remember, and that was 2 years ago. So, that was kind of a crazy game of that whole day around it. But anyways, yeah, it's it was a good chat with Chaz.
Yeah, it was great, but
I do want to say too, because like this got caught out. This was out off air with him. I was kind of mad. I apologize to the viewers because I did ask afterwards. I forgot, should have asked him beforehand. But he was supposed to do the interview without a shirt on for the viewers, because every time you get him at post game, his shirt's always off. And I completely forgot. I think it's more of the coach thing now that he has to have the shirt on. So maybe he's changing a little bit on that. But sorry for the viewers out there. No Chaz Reddekopp bods or thirst traps today.
The backstory with that was our first time in Kalamazoo was just me and Brandon down there, and he comes around the corner, and Hawk had went to get him, and I was like, "Can we talk to Chaz?" He's like, "Yeah," and Hawk's walking down the thing screaming at Chaz, and Chaz comes around the corner like as he's casually like trying to put a shirt on. He must have just got done and getting changed and stuff. It was a funny moment. Everybody that was in the hallway was just laughing about it. So that's why Nick brought that up.
Oh man, the amount of things we see in Toledo.
But with that, man, I think it's a good stopping point. Thank you all for tuning in. But we got to say thank you to our sponsors, Everything Hockey Clothing Company. When shopping with them, use code West, save a few bucks on your order, as well as our Patreon subscribers. It's still free for the summer.
Yeah,
We'll let you know when the charges are going to start again as we roll into the season. We do have an exciting thing coming up with that. There's going to be a little 6-part series coming, so you might want to stick around for that. The first 5, I believe, are going to fall into the free category, and then the 6th part's kind of like a surprise that you'd have to join in the season and see what the last part is. But and who are the subscribers?
So currently we've got Randy, Alan, Derek, Elaine, Griffin, John, Lori, Michael, Tyler, Claire, and D-Boss's D-Boss. Thank you guys for subscribing on Patreon. Summer is free, like Travis said, and then as soon as this season starts, we'll be coming back and posting a lot more content. We're reworking a lot of things throughout the offseason. A lot of discussions have been made, so some big changes coming and a lot more content on that end. And if you could, throughout the episode today, this is the end of the episode, is like, subscribe, leave a comment what your favorite part was, because there were so many parts. I cut like probably 11 reels out of this episode. So let us know what your favorite was. Like, subscribe. We've got I believe we're going to do a contest, a giveaway here soon. So we'll have details on that here shortly.
Yeah. Thank you to everybody. And last of all, it's greatly appreciated, but we'll talk to you again soon. Go Griffins, go Walleye.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod, and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy, and Brandon at BrandonGR Hockey.